All right, nervous system. Whew, I hate the nervous system. But anyway, Moses. Nervous system. It's pretty much think of electrical wiring. That's pretty much what the nervous system is. So it employs electrical and chemical means to send messages from cells to cell, from cell to cell. Three steps pretty much of the nervous system would be sensory organs. They receive information. 2, the brain and spinal cord process that information. And then 3, the brain and spinal cord issues commands. All right, so there's two main systems of the body, which are the CNS and the PNS, which is pretty much your central nervous system and your peripheral nervous system. The CNS, it controls the brain and spinal cord only. The PNS, which includes nerves outside the spinal cord, and also the ANS. The ANS is the autonomic nervous system, and that controls mostly visceral structures, and visceral is pretty much your organs. Subdivisions of the autonomic nervous system would be your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, and these pretty much operate as a check and balance system. Your sympathetic system deals with stress and stimulation, pretty much your flight or fight response. Parasympathetic system deals with conserving energy, your rest and restoration. Okay, so nervous tissue. Neurons are the fundamental unit of nervous tissue. Each neuron contains a cell body, which is the center command system, which extends a single process called an axon and the branching process, which are the dendrites. So pretty much your cell body is all that. It extends that whole thing, axons and dendrites. Dendrites are fiber branches that receive impulses from the cell body, impulses to the cell body, and axons transmit impulses from the cell body. They conduct nerve signals. Boom. All right, so myelin, pretty much the myelin sheaths, which are fatty sheaths that cover the axon. The break in between the myelin sheaths are called the node of Revia. Pretty cool, right? So anyway, that space in between the myelin sheaths, the node of Revia. Myelin is used to increase the speed of impulse conduction. So pretty much the myelin is used to speed up impulse conductions. Gray matter is unmyelinated fibers, pretty much like think of like a butterfly shape, mostly made of inner neurons to transmit sensory impulses. This is found mainly in the cerebral cortex and the central portion of the spinal cord. White matter is myelinated fibers containing ascending sensory and descending motor fiber pathways. A nerve fiber is the conductor of impulses from a neuron. A synapse is pretty much a small gap in between neurons which transmit impulses from one neuron to another. A tract, this is important, a tract is a group of myelinated nerve fibers with the central nervous system that carries a specific type of information from one area to another. Test question. And sensory and motor neurons are normally found in the PNS system, which is your peripheral nervous system. Motor pretty much means efferent, and efferent is away, pretty much away from, it's sending impulses away from the central nervous system, going through the peripheral and out. Bam. Anyway, so motor impulses sends information away from the central nervous system, starting at the brain, going to the spinal cord, through the anterior horn, out the peripheral nerves. Sensory is pretty much the opposite, meaning coming towards the CNS. And sensory is afferent impulses, which sends information towards the CNS, starting from the peripheral nerves through the posterior horn to the spinal cord and then to the brain. Interneurons, they relay impulses. Pretty much keyword is relay when you hear interneurons. Pretty much it has a faster response, has 2 axons instead of 1 axon and 1 dendrite. So it just has 2 axons. And interneurons are mostly found in the central nervous system. 3 types of neurons are motor neurons, which is efferent, sensory neurons, which is afferent, and interneurons, which is relay. Brain and spinal cord protection. There's 3 membranes that enclose the spinal cord and the brain, which is the dura mater, which is the first, the thickest, tougher outer layer. The anteroid, which is the middle layer, and the pia mater is the inner delicate layer, which carries blood vessels to the brain. So the pia mater carries blood vessels to the brain. The brain is part of the central nervous system, made up of the cerebrum, the brainstem, and the cerebellum. The cerebellum, not the cerebellum, but the cerebrum is the largest main portion of the brain, responsible for the highest level of thought and mental functions, which is made up of the left and right cerebral hemispheres. The left hemisphere controls language, logic, linear thought, which is pretty much organizing sequences, and motor control of the right side. The right hemisphere pretty much is visual, emotion, abstract thinking, spiritual, motor control of the left side. Cerebus callosum, which pretty much joins the 2 hemispheres together. It's that big branch, blam, in the middle, that puts them both together. Cerebus callosum. Each hemisphere is divided into 4 lobes. Each hemisphere is divided into 4 lobes. You got your frontal lobe, which is anterior and controls personality, motor movement, and expressive speech. You have your occipital lobe, which is posterior, so in the far back, which controls your vision, recognition of shape, size, and color. And you have your parietal lobe, which is going to be in the middle of your frontal lobe and your optical lobe, which controls gross sensations such as touch and pressure. Your temporal lobe, which is pretty much inferior, so it's at your bottom part. It's the center of behavior, hearing, language, reception, and understanding. If you need a visual, let me see if that fucking works. Anyway, so it's not going to be there too long. Anyway, that's a brainstem on the side. Okay. So your cerebellum, which is it controls coordination, posture, and balance. Your thalamus, which is the processes auditory and visual input. Hypothalamus is hormone secretion, behavior, and sexual response. Hypothalamus is the pleasure. Anyway, the pineal gland, which is your biological clock. Pretty much it's affected by light, and it produces melatonin if it's dark outside, or you're just in darkness, producing melatonin. Melatonin makes you sleepy. You want to go to sleep. You get tired. Cool. So the brain has cranial nerves, and there's 12 pairs of cranial nerves, and this controls your sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. Pretty much your 5 senses, son. So anyway, we're gonna go over this. It's probably gonna be on a test, but anyway, I'm just gonna do the cranial nerves. Actually, I probably won't. It's hard to pronounce. Anyway, so I'm gonna show a picture. Even though it doesn't help it because if I don't say it, I'm not gonna understand it. So anyway, fuck it. I'm gonna try anyway. Cranial nerves. They're listed in Roman numerals, and olfactory nerve, which controls your smell. Your optical nerve, which controls your sight. Your oculomotor nerve, which is controls eye movement. The ones that control eye movement are your number 3, which is your oculomotor nerve. Number 4, which is your tangential nerve. Number 6, which is your abducens nerve. Those all control eye movement. Number 5, which is your tangential nerve, which controls facial sensations. Your facial nerve controls your facial expressions. Your vestibular tabular nerve, which controls your equilibrium, which is pretty much in your inner ear. Your gosophalangeal nerve, which controls your gag reflex. Your venous nerve it controls your heart, digestive organs, and your lungs. Your accessory nerve controls 2 muscles, which is your trapezius and your SCM, which is pretty much your neck muscles, and your hypoglossal nerve, which controls your tongue. Boom. That's it for the brain. Spinal cord next.